Before we get started in today's podcast, we wanted to take a minute to shout out this month's patrons. So huge shout out to John DeLisio, Rachel DeLisio, Samuel Copeland, and all our other wonderful patrons. Huge shout out to these guys. Thank you so much for supporting. And if you, dear viewer, feel so inclined to support the channel, you can find our Patreon at patreon.com/Socratic Cinema. Any support is greatly appreciated and helps us boost that production quality and make our stuff sound better. You may have noticed our episodes sound real buttery smooth recently, and that's because of our wonderful new favorite editor, Riley. So we're going to be referring to him a lot. But thank you to all our patrons. And yeah, consider becoming a patron if you want to have your name read out on the podcast. Without further ado, enjoy the episode. Guys, any parting words?
Thank you so much.
Thank you to those people.
This week on the Socratic Cinema podcast.
And Dusty May,
Being a hussy.
Oh my gosh, she was so...
Hussy May, nah, Hussy May.
Why was she...
Pulls a knife on him and is like, all right, then let your God save you because I'm about to
unalive
slice you
you.
up.
Yeah,
unalive you. And then it goes, even the room seemed like paler.
Why? Yeah, maybe it's just because everyone in it was white, but it was
White.
It was.
Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of the Socratic Cinema podcast. I'm Kasey Clark.
I'm Charlie Heatherly.
And I'm James DeLisio.
And this week, ladies and gentlemen, we're in the home stretch. We're on our last recordathon.
5 out of 5,
Five
baby.
out of 5. We're feeling good still. I'm feeling good.
I'm rested. I'm recharged. We had a lunch break, and we're pushing through at 4 p.m.
Yeah.
If you recall, it was 11 when we started.
But this episode, we're going to be tackling Ma Rainey's Black Bottom. It is a movie based on a screenplay and a
stage play.
A stage play. Sorry. Wow. That's fine. By August Wilson. So let's start off with initial thoughts. James?
All right. I will start with the positives. I really liked watching Ma Rainey's Black Bottom. I very much enjoyed my experience watching the movie. Some of people I was watching it with thought it was boring, fell asleep, but my dad and I, we really enjoyed it, at least while watching it. It had my attention. I thought the performances were outstanding. Chadwick Boseman's performance in this film was incredible. I thought the writing and the dialogue was very sharp and witty, and I'm not someone who's scared away by dialogue-heavy scenes. Did I burp? I burped.
You did burp.
I leaned away, hopefully.
Really a 2 out of 10 because you leaned away.
I know. Next time I'll just let her rip. But, no, I'm not someone who's bothered by dialogue-heavy scenes or movies or anything. So as long as you pay attention to Ma Rainey's Black Bottom, I think it's really good. And if nothing else, the performances are very powerful and captivating. A lot of great character interaction and chemistry, and you can really feel all the emotion behind the performances, I think. They're very passionate, and of course, it was sad to see Chadwick Boseman, as melancholy as we all knew it would be. But it was very strange to see him play this sort of character after I've only seen him as, T'Challa in the Marvel movies, because this is a very big departure from T'Challa's character, where T'Challa is refined and kind of poised and composed. Levi is not. He's arrogant and self-confident and brash and all those other adjectives. And it was just really cool to see Chadwick really get to use some of his range here. So very enjoyable. However, I don't get it. I don't know. I've been thinking about this movie, and the movie ended, and I was kind of like, that's it. I don't think it's I don't think it's the movie's fault. I think I'm missing something. I must be, because I don't understand the theme or what the movie was trying to get across. I guess it just sort of ended at what felt like an arbitrary point without any resolution. And I'm hoping that I can be educated here today. I know there's a companion documentary about the making of the film. I chose not to watch it because I wanted to sort of dialogue through this all with you guys here on air, but I'm confused. Like, I enjoy all the parts of this movie, but as a whole, I just kind of don't see what I was supposed to get out of it, I guess. So, yeah, I wanted to like it. I just don't quite, I just don't get it, I don't think.
What would you rate it out of 10?
For me, maybe like a 7. Like I think the performances and the dialogue make this movie worth watching. Absolutely, I'd recommend it. Like, it gets a thumbs up from me for sure. And maybe you'll get something out of it that I didn't. I just personally don't quite understand what I was supposed to get out of it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, I think that Ma Rainey's Black Bottom, my favorite part of that movie, Ma Rainey's Black Bottom is really, I think, a well-acted movie. I think you're right. Chadwick Boseman's phenomenal in his role. I think he's by far the best performance in it. And really, I think it's a perfect send-off for Chadwick as an actor, because I saw him in one more movie than you did, James, because I saw Da 5 Bloods, which is not meant for me to say. I feel weird every time I say it because I can't say the word duh correctly. But Da 5 Bloods, he was really good in that as Stormin Norman, I think his name was, but absolutely phenomenal in that movie. But I think he really ups the bar here and adds in a lot of emotion and just various little intricacies to Levi's character that make him interesting to watch. A lot of people are saying that Viola Davis deserves a Best Actress nom. I know that's not the correct term, but the Best Female Actor nom. Okay, hot take. I don't think that her portrayal of Ma Rainey was actually that interesting, solely because I think Ma Rainey is a very flat character. I think that Ma Rainey is... I don't like her. She's arrogant. She's mean. She's up in everybody's face all the time. She's cruel at some moments. Like, she's very uncompromising, and it feels like she's probably a caricature of herself in this movie. And I think Viola Davis plays her in such a big, boisterous way that it just really, it turns me off from Ma Rainey's character. Like, I have no reason to like her besides the fact that she's fairly assertive and she knows what she wants. And I think that especially within the music industry, is something that gets talked about a lot, is the relationship between the musician and the producer. Mm-hmm. But I don't know. Not my favorite performance.
I just want to say about the Ma Rainey's performance, I see where you're coming from, but I think you also must take the historical context of her character, because at the time, to have this big, commanding black woman, right, telling all these white men what to do is kind of, that's unheard of. Kasey's definitely got
points.
Yeah.
Totally.
I think Kasey will be able to fill this in where we can't. I think she's ready. She came armed.
Sure. Yeah, I did not come armed. The one thing I wanted to say about Ma Rainey's, though, is that this is a hot box film, which essentially what it means is that it's a film where the characters are put into typically just one area for the majority of the film, and also heat is usually some sort of central symbol within it. I hear that this movie was originally set in winter. Kasey's going to explain more about this, but it was set in summer, I think, to make it more of a hot box film, where the heat sort of symbolizes the rising tension, and then it all explodes into one big moment, which happens when Levi kills Toledo.
All right, you've done it twice. Levy.
I'm sorry. Levi Attack on Titan. It's just forever in my brain. Is it spelled the same?
No.
It's Levee.
I'm going to keep saying it accidentally the other way, so just it's going to happen.
I'm sorry. I'm so sorry.
But Levy, that's really hard for me. I think, yeah, like his final act is definitely the explosion at the end of the film. And I would say that this movie is very similar to 12 Angry Men. I have a lot of comparisons I want to draw between the two. But I think we can learn a lot from 12 Angry Men, specifically in where it does things correctly that I don't think Ma Rainey did correctly. So, yeah, I think I agree with James. This is like a 7 out of 10 for me, but personally, I would not recommend it to people.
Kasey, take us to church.
All right.
Take us to school.
So, Ma Rainey is... Well, before we talk about Ma Rainey, we kind of have to talk about August Wilson.
But before that, we have to talk about your first impressions.
Yeah, okay. Fair enough. All right. So... Throughout Ma Rainey, I was really honestly interested because it is kind of just like Charlie was saying, it's in one place, there's not a lot of hopping all over the place. It's just pretty set. We know what's happening. It's pretty like a simple plot. Mm-hmm. And especially knowing that it was a stage play, that I wasn't really expecting much. I didn't know much about the movie either. All I knew is that it was by the same person that did Fences. And overall, I really, really enjoyed it. I watched the companion documentary, and it just kind of cemented a lot of the themes that I had already picked up on. But beautiful. I say watch them back to back. That's what I did. It's only like 30-ish minutes, and they have a really, really heartfelt section where they're talking about how great Chadwick is and how like insane. Fun fact that everyone learned how to play their own instruments.
Oh wow, that increases my respect for this movie a lot.
Yeah.
Is Viola Davis the one singing?
I would think so.
That's really
I
impressive.
Think so,
if she is, yeah.
And because they're talking about how Chadwick was, it's like a specific thing for trumpet, like finger scales, I believe it's called.
Yeah.
And he was like, oh, can I get like some extra ones of these? And just to kind of like better learn his part and just how committed he was to this part, and just seeing the like in the companion piece, like the passion that, you know, is behind the actual movie that doesn't always like come out. But definitely like the movie itself, I really enjoyed. I don't think there's a lot of things that like now that I understand it more, it makes more sense. But I understand like watching it maybe like the first time, it wouldn't make sense. Like I feel like if you don't get it the first time, like don't give up. Like maybe watch it a second time or like look into it. But yeah, overall, I'd give it like a 9.
Wow. Okay.
Dang.
Because I enjoyed it that much.
Right. And all I'm getting from this is that I clearly missed something. Like I'm clearly like not understanding something. So I'm looking forward to learning, hopefully.
Yes. I'm honestly excited that this is like,
I'm ready to have my mind changed.
Mind
a la
Yeah.
Steven Crowder.
Well, because this movie has... I can't believe you referenced that. This movie has a lot of very interesting and I think nuanced themes regarding Black culture during that time. Like I heard someone talking about how even the themes go so far as to like the difference between Northern Blacks and Southern Blacks during the time, which is something I would have never thought of like that movie ever, you know, going into. So there's certainly a lot of themes and sort of arguments that it's juggling at once, and I wasn't able to keep track of all of them. So I'm hoping that you took really, really good notes.
Kasey has an essay here.
And we're able to do it.
Yeah, there was something I wanted to say that you were talking about. Oh yeah, themes. Like, I don't know what it is about this movie, but like, if you asked me to say what the theme was, I couldn't tell you. You know, I feel like this film absolutely went over my head, like 100%. Like, I feel like I watched it, but I didn't see anything in it. Like, I saw the performances and the plot, you know, but I guess I just didn't like. None of it sunk in.
I mean, I think a lot of the themes within this movie are probably heavily doused with historical context.
Yes.
So then if you don't understand the historical context of it, then it's probably a little bit harder to get the themes. I was only half there because I read some reviews on it just to sort out my own opinions on the film a bit better. But I think the companion documentary, they made that for a reason.
Yeah,
I'm sure.
Definitely, because the companion documentary, it spells everything out.
Okay. I feel like I gotta watch it now.
So before we start, as I was saying, actually, to go back to your Hotbox thing, because I have a connection that I just wanted to bring up because of George C. Wolfe, the director's decision to make it in the summer, and how it really related to Do the Right Thing, where we did a podcast on that too.
We did a podcast
where,
on
that. If you haven't seen it, go watch it. But just the hot day and during the companion documentary, like, Wolf is talking about how in like a concrete jungle, the only thing that absorbs heat are the people. So they're like feeling the heat, they're feeling the tension, and then everything's like brought to a 10 because you're seeing like everyone's ambition, you're seeing everyone's need to win, their need to like come out on top and all this stuff. So I was like, oh yes, we're in it now.
I love that. Well, because that change of setting shows a mastery over the story. I feel like to like realize that there's more emotion and meaning if you just literally switch the time of year. It also goes to show how like this movie definitely sweated the small details, I feel like.
Yeah.
In I guess a literal sense, they sweated the small details.
Good one.
But yeah, so I'm glad that they made that change because winter feels a bit, I don't know, more arbitrary to me. I guess it could keep them inside the area and have different excuses for keeping them inside the area, but like, I don't know. Summer feels a lot better to me and matches the emotion of this film a lot better. So I'm glad they made the change.
Well, unless, of course, by winter you mean any time in the month of December, because by our Die Hard logic, then it would be a Christmas movie. So not at all arbitrary at that point.
I'm going to kill you.
Oh, man. But August Wilson, he was a playwright, essentially. Literally, I believe they call him the playwright of Black America. Which is like, 2 Pulitzer Prizes,
wow,
baby.
That is quite the title.
And the theater's poet of Black America. That's what he's called.
Watch out, Lin-Manuel Miranda.
Literally, right?
I know they can't use him for all the minority songs anymore. They gotta get someone else.
And essentially, like, he wrote a series of plays called the Pittsburgh Circle. He's from Pittsburgh, and they're essentially just chronicling, yeah, just the Black experience throughout the decade. So Fences is, I believe, second. It goes Jitney, Fences, Ma Rainey's Black Bottom, Joe Turner's Come and Gone, The Piano Lesson, King Headley the second. So Fences and Ma Rainey came out really, really close together. And Fences is about like a middle-class working Black family and the dynamics between a son and a father, and then like the mom and like all that stuff. And so for Ma Rainey, do we just want to dive right into themes?
Let's do it. I mean, I don't know.
For sure.
Yeah, I don't know where to start here.
Okay, so a lot of the themes that I picked out, so a big one's blaxploitation, which is a humongous thing at the time. Like, especially we see this with the just Ma Rainey, the atmosphere in general.
And for those who don't know, explain.
So essentially Ma Rainey has come up from her southern tour, and she's up in the north, and she's at a recording studio to record a record for these two, her white agent and a manager who is also white. And so essentially, like, she, as James was saying, one of y'all.
We're the same person at this point.
The same entity. We're saying that she's just really, really just big and brash, and she's coming in like calling the shots. And there's like a very important scene where like the manager's like, okay, well, last time she came in here, she acted like she owned the place, yada yada yada, keep her under control. So we start off the film essentially with the band. The band gets there before her, so we get all this like setup with the band and setup blah blah blah. And they make it very clear from the get-go that they're like a fish out of water. Like, you see them like walking on a sidewalk and white people not moving out of the way for them when they're like carrying all their instruments, and they're getting all these like sideways looks. And even when they go to like the deli later on, there's like some tension there.
That's
so we're already starting off strong.
So by blaxploitation, when you were talking about the theme, so that would mean the exploitation of.
Yes.
Right. Okay. That was sort of what I was getting at.
Yeah.
Okay.
Was defining that.
So then, different from the whole white musicians are taking Black music and appropriating for themselves, essentially.
That was the one thing I picked up on, was sort of like
well, because that's like the end of it. Like,
right.
There's
there's levels here.
So different types of blaxploitation to clarify.
There's
okay, gotcha.
different types that we're gonna like pick apart.
We're gonna
so we
go
have
all into
the agent and the manager. So Irvin's the agent and Sturdyvant is the manager. Essentially, what they're doing is they're making race records, which they go into in the companion flick, where race records were essentially, white people taking advantage of like cultured, colored music and, taking it. And it was kind of like a catch-22 where, of course, you're getting like expansion and you're getting like, oh, yes, I have like a record out and yada 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 of black music, but then you're also getting the exploitation of black artists.
Right. It's like
where it's like
commodifying their culture. And,
yes, exactly. And usually they weren't making what they were supposed to.
Right.
And like all that stuff.
And we see that. I mean, the band members only get what, $25 each?
Yeah, $25 each, and Ma Rainey gets $200.
And they weren't even gonna pay the kid at first.
Yeah, exactly. They're gonna take from Ma Rainey's money to pay for the kid, and she's like, no.
Is 25 below the normal wage that you would get for something like that?
Well, I guess we'd have to go through the inflation. Hold on.
Yeah.
I mean, because I heard 25 and I was just like, I guess that's a number. Like,
you keep going. I'm gonna do some crunch some numbers.
And then that kind of brings us to some very interesting parallels, because we have the foils of Ma and Levy. Those are kind of our two like big characters. So Ma knows she's being exploited but takes advantage of it, as we see. Sorry, I keep tapping.
You're good.
I'm talking with my hands. And then Levy isn't inherently aware that he's receiving like empty promises and taking advantage of, because he thinks that he's in full control of his situation, and he lets himself get taken advantage of, because he thinks he's not like better than racism, but like better
than racism.
Because essentially, like, he thinks that if he has talent and drive, then he can get what he wants and what he deserves.
Which is interesting, because that's sort of, I mean, that was his basically inciting incident. I mean, when his mother got taken advantage of in the way that she did, like, that was clearly like a representation of how the white man has so much power over the black community. And then he comes, even having that experience and being very vocal about seeming to know this lesson, he comes back and then thinks by sheer force of, playing the trumpet as good as he can, he can overcome that. But obviously, there's a cycle of repression here that's going to push him back down.
Yeah, exactly.
So I do have the money numbers. Each band member made, in today's money, around $320, and Ma Rainey made like $2,600. And I Googled what the average studio musician rate is, and they said it's anywhere from like 50 to 120 per track or per song. So they were maybe getting paid on the low. They were getting paid on the low end for sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
And I feel like Ma Rainey definitely like highlights this with her conversation with Cutler.
Yeah.
Coleman Domingo, I just want to say, great performance as Cutler.
Yes.
Cutler was great.
He's
wonderful.
in Euphoria as Ali.
I didn't know.
Yeah,
I didn't
he
know that.
acts his ass off.
Oh my God.
Like,
I haven't seen Euphoria.
I love Euphoria.
Acts his ass off.
I liked Toledo. He was my favorite.
Yeah.
I was about to call him Talladega, and then I was like,
Talladega?
Talladega Nights, baby.
Yeah.
That's lost
Toledo.
on me
I felt
too.
so bad for Toledo.
And so Will Ferrell.
Oh, sorry.
And let's see. So Levy's essentially like grounded by his music, and we see like I'm just gonna go over like the whole kind of Levy section.
Take us through it. Levy seems like the main focus.
Yeah, because it's essentially like his rise and his fall, because we meet him and especially in the tent where he like goes off and it's kind of like on the trumpet and he gets like the spotlight.
He's trying to upstage her.
Yeah, and Ma Rainey is not feeling it at all, like to the point where like obviously Levy's a problem child. He's trying to be sweet on her girl and trying to like
let's talk about Dusty May
we'll talk
later.
about Dusty
I got some problems with her.
We will talk about the brown hen, red rooster, and Dusty May in one fell swoop.
Yeah, and then so essentially the kind of climax of his story is he gets kind of cheated out of recording the songs that he was promised by Sturdyvant, the manager, who the entire time he's like going off and being arrogant to the other band members, like, oh, I'm better than you because I'm gonna get my own band and I'm gonna make it and I'm recording these songs for Sturdyvant, and Sturdyvant's like, ha, wrong, here's some money instead. And so essentially like he loses it because Levy's like music is his grounding thing. Like he doesn't have anything else. He doesn't have family.
It's his spark in soul.
It is his spark.
Yeah.
And when he loses it, he gets stabby. And then honestly, from my perspective, the whole him killing Toledo, as sad as it was, Toledo, like for me, it makes sense. Because if you look at it this way, Levy, who is incredibly like materialistic.
Yeah.
Like he's talking about his shoes, he's talking about how successful he's going to be and yada yada, this, that, and the other. And then as soon as he gets his possibility for success taken away.
Yeah.
And then right afterwards, some like Toledo, he didn't mean anything by it, obviously, but he steps on his brand new shoes that he's been going on and on about. Mm-hmm. And that was like half of his paycheck. And he knows that he's fired. There's nowhere like other than that. So again, he's like,
he's at his
rubber bands just keeps getting pulled and pulled. And so when he snaps and he kills Toledo, which is honestly ironic because Toledo, being the old head that he is, an old head's like a older. Yeah, okay. Just making sure.
No. You should explain it just in case.
I didn't know that one.
Like a old head's like an older black man that's constantly like kind of like just speaking to the neighborhood. Like in
Oh, they made a really funny Key and Peele sketch about that.
Yes.
Like the uncle.
Like the uncle that's always talking about like.
Or in what's that movie called that we were just talking about that we did?
Do the Right Thing.
Yeah, like in Do the Right Thing. I forgot his name.
Yeah, Mayor.
Yeah, the mayor.
Yeah, Mayor.
Exactly.
Mayor is an old head. Yes. And so being the old head that he is and talking about how the black men have to like stick together and everything's going to like tear us apart and all this stuff, and then to have him be the one that's killed, like that like floored me. I was like,
so in a way it's almost like Toledo was right about everything, and it was right about, you know, Levy being a that's I really do like that. I mean, it's like Toledo was right, and yet he's the one who pays the price, right? When he's proven he's proven right by paying the ultimate price, right? Like and Levy probably knows that Toledo's right, and that's all the more frustrating, you know, which explains why he would lash out in such a way. Yeah, I guess I think the thing that frustrated me most about the movie was not the buildup. Like I thought each part of the movie was great. I just wish there was like 20 more minutes of just like of what happens after. Because
it was a short movie. Yeah.
Right. Like an hour 30.
It was an hour 30. And I mean, you look at the characters, like Ma Rainey just leaves and all the other bandmates just leave. And Levy's just kind of left there to face like what he did with Toledo and that regret. And I guess I just wanted to see more of like, it almost feels like no one in this movie has an arc except for Levy. Like they kind of start and end at the same points aside from Levy and Toledo for, you know, Toledo obvious reasons.
No, you're right though. All of them. Yeah, no, really it's just Levy who's doing. I got it right this time.
Except I guess we could talk about the nephew Sylvester and Dusty May.
I mean, Dusty May and Sylvester to a much lesser extent.
Right.
I mean,
they have less extreme arcs than Levy.
Arc is learning how to say that phrase correctly, right?
And also sort of being, you know, becoming a man in a sense of the entertainment industry.
Like standing up for himself.
Standing up for himself against the bandmates and doing his first real job in you know, the industry of his family.
Sure.
And Dusty May, you know,
being a hussy.
Oh my gosh, she was so
Dusty May, nah, hussy May.
Why was she creeping on? Oh my gosh, she and Ma Rainey made me so uncomfortable. That one scene where they're like,
oh yeah, when they're
well, I was very confused for a second because I wasn't sure if Ma Rainey was gay at that point. So I saw it and I'm like, this is a really weird like daughter thing, you know, mother-daughter thing to be doing. And then I was like, oh no, they're probably gay. This makes sense now.
No, still no. Wait, no, right? They're like niece and they're related.
I mean,
are they related?
No, they're not related.
They're not?
May's not. No, Dusty May's like her girl.
Oh, I thought Dusty May and Sylvester were both her.
No, no. Just Sylvester's her nephew, and then Dusty May's like
her showgirl, like
showgirl.
She's like a dancer.
Yeah.
Oh, there is that subtext. That's okay.
Where I was literally in my notes, I'm like sapphics ?
I was unclear what their okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which is why like Levy going after her is such like a big no. It's like you're already on thin ice, dude.
Oh.
Yeah. And then he just on the piano, man, really?
Oh, that made me so... Don't disrespect the piano like that. That made me so upset.
Oh, my gosh.
Yeah, no, that was definitely... I don't know. I thought it was very... Or at least a good choice that they had Levy do that. I think that was the correct trajectory for the plot to take. And it's sort of in his character. Like, Levy is very selfish, arrogant. He's a lot of bad things, but I think he also has a charming ambition and just humor to him. Like, you know, he's messing around with everybody. So it was good to see him fall a bit more into his arrogance a bit, like going after Ma Rainey's girl like that. And yeah, I don't know. I think that Dusty May served a good purpose within the plot. I'm satisfied with what Dusty May was there to do.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah, and I think the argument can be brought up. I would never even thought of this while watching it, but like whether or not Dusty May actually is into Ma Rainey. Like, it could just be like...
it could be sort of a
coerce,
kind of...
Well, not necessarily coerce, but just, like, money? Like, success?
It's almost... I can't help but think of, like... This is going to sound weird. You know, in Greece, they'd have, like, they'd have, you know, young men and their older mentors. And there was some, you know, connotations there. I mean... I think...
Grooming?
I think Dusty May most definitely sees... Ma Rainey as a mentor, right?
Yeah.
I think of it similarly to that, I guess. Like, who knows if there could be some tomfoolery going on there? Maybe.
I'm pretty sure there's some tomfoolery.
Right. And there was some tomfoolery.
Just so possessive.
And there was some tomfoolery going on in Greece, right? I'm just saying it's the similar kind of like mentor, air quotes, relationship, you know?
Where it's definitely like she's like there's an ulterior motive to it. It's not necessarily all like ooh lovey-dovey.
I don't think they're in love. I wouldn't. I think it's more like a there's definitely like a master
But yeah. I think to finish up sorry.
No, I was just going to say you could my brain started moving. It's almost like I feel like a lot of this movie is like sort of the pursuit of power. Kind of like the pursuit of dominance, almost like reclaiming your dignity. Like, I mean, Levy is the most obvious case. His whole backstory, and about how he wants to kind of get back at the white man and like show him who's boss. Like Levy wants to achieve his own thing and come out on top. And Ma Rainey is almost like the image of what that looks like someone who has sort of come out on top and now is superior to the white, you know, the white man. Yeah. And it's almost like now she's even superior to like other black women like Dusty May. Like it's sort of a not to say a cycle of anything, you know, not to imply that there's anything abusive with Ma Rainey or Dusty May, but like it just sort of shows like these people want to be on top of others. Like that's sort of the drive for some of the characters like Ma Rainey and Levy, I think.
Yeah. No, definitely. And I think even there's this like the storyline where Levy's constantly trying to break through the door.
Oh, yeah.
And then he finally breaks through it, and there's like nothing on the other side.
Oh,
it's a brick wall.
That's super symbolic.
That's super symbolic.
I didn't get it at first again. I was like, why is that?
See, racism.
He's like, look, I made songs and I gave them to the white man, and there's nothing for me here. I just got played again.
Well, that's one of the big themes within the film that I picked up on, which is competition within the black community. I mean, like, that's the problem with racism is that, well, specifically within a capitalist society, is that the dominant race will have the ability to serve themselves and the individual. While if you're in a minority, it's much harder to do that because as a group, you need to lift yourselves up to try and achieve anything better.
Yes, like Toledo said.
Yeah, like Toledo said, right? So black men and women do not have the luxury of being able to, you know, sort of go off on their own like Levy's trying to say.
Compete at all, I mean.
Because if they do, then it will just end up hurting, you know, the community at large, which is, you know, the unfortunate reality of it, I guess, is what the movie's trying to say.
Yeah.
But definitely I thought that little symbolic moment, I didn't pick up on that either.
Yeah.
That is really good. Looking back on it.
I think I'm sort of starting to understand, like, I'm sure if you asked me to, like, find these things, I maybe could have, but I guess I just don't like. I didn't see, and to an extent, I still don't see what commentary the film is trying to make on them, other than that these things exist. Like,
fair.
Like, it's pointing out that there are these problems that they faced and black people do face to this day. But I guess I just don't know what the film was trying to say about it, other than that it's there, right?
I feel like because of how the Pittsburgh cycle kind of works, it's just kind of highlighted.
It's more like we were saying before about how some films are more about giving an impression or a feeling of a thing rather than tell a story. I don't think Ma Rainey is about telling a story. I think that would be looking at it wrong. Like, this is not a plot-driven movie at all. I think you're right that it's about just painting a picture of how things were, and you make the natural connection to how things are, right? I mean, the struggle is not over at all.
No, I think that Ma Rainey's, because it's a hot box film, its goal is to be great at delivering tension and then breaking it. So that's what I'm sort of judging Ma Rainey as. I feel like at a fundamental level, that's what these movies try to accomplish. If you look at 12 Angry Men, I mean, that's what that movie is. It is one room. The central tension is, did this guy commit the murder? And one guy believes that the dude did not commit the murder, and the other 11 jurors think that he did. And it's about this constant struggle of gradually getting people on, the correct side of it to then give the innocent verdict to the guy. And I think that when I'm looking at Ma Rainey's, there is a level of tension that's being built up, and you see that as sort of the playful insults that the band gives to Levy get progressively more and more barbing and hurt him more and more until eventually Levy just can't take enough of it. And what was that thing with the chair again? I sort of forgot what happened, where he threatened Cutler with the chair and knife.
Cutler was defending himself with the chair while Levy was attacking him with the knife.
And that brings up the disillusionment of Christian Negroes.
Whoa, go off, okay?
Sure.
Let's unpack this.
Yeah, because this also touches on the topic of how there are a lot of Christian black people, but there are like sects of black people who are like, well, if God, like Levy, who is like, well, if God is so good, why does he let bad things happen to his people, especially coming out of like Jim Crow, slavery? Like, how come everyone else is fine, but we're going through all of this? And so the altercation is essentially Levy saying, well, screw your God, do this, and that, and then Cutler off and like punches him. He's like, don't blaspheme my God, this, and that. And then Levy essentially like pulls a knife on him and is like, all right, then let your God save you, because I'm about to slice you up.
Unalive you.
And then it goes into this really, really good like monologue where he's just talking about like, well, did you like turn your back on my mom? Like, I know I heard her calling for you, and like you didn't do anything to stop. And I'm like, whew.
Which
that was intense.
That was a very very
and that's just
intense
another like Chadwick's parts in this were probably the best.
They were the best in the movie for sure.
We have his background, and then like that scene in particular where he's just, you can see the spit flying.
It was good. And definitely. I mean, it there's a lot of religious commentary here for sure. Like in Devil All the Time.
Mm-hmm. Well, and there was that story that Cutler was telling about the preacher on the train tracks.
Oh yeah, I almost forgot about that.
Yeah. That one stuck in my mind. That was a really good story to me. And it completely, is very similar to that. But obviously when Cutler's telling it, there's, some sort of positive spin to it where it's like, well, you should still believe in, God and all this sort of stuff. Where I'm sure Levy sees that and he's like, they just, or God let one of his preachers like get beat up and dragged across a, railway. Like, I don't know. It doesn't seem very merciful to me.
And I mean, we can even see Levy's anti-Christian standpoint from the very beginning when I think it's what's his name?
Slow Drag.
Slow Drag. I almost said Slow Jam. When Slow Drag is talking about how he knew a musician who sold their soul to the devil, and Levy's like, well, sheesh,
I do it.
Yeah, like I call me the devil. Like I'll sell my. And it's sort of straight from the beginning. We're establishing that Levi feels abandoned by God, and so as a result of that is scornful of him.
Yeah.
And I just thought it was interesting that that's sort of set up from the very beginning. Hey guys, let's take a quick break from the Ma Rainey analysis here for a very special new Socratic segment. Everyone, aren't you excited? It's our first ever patron Q&A.
Oh my God.
I know. Big moment, big moves. So today, our question comes from our dearest beloved Samuel Copeland, and he asks, what is the gang's favorite music artists right now? Much to talk about.
Interesting.
I'm going to throw it to, who? Kasey? I'm going to throw it to you first. I got to think a little bit here.
Okay. I would say my favorite artist right now would be Victoria Monet. She's an R&B singer, very, very pretty, very beautiful voice. And then was the MC. I don't know how to describe him. It's kind of like a little bit of indie, a little bit of kind of think Tyler the Creator, Brockhampton tier.
Oh, very nice, very nice. So you have Kasey's recommendation, what she's been listening to. Charlie, what have you been listening to, my man?
Hey, look, Sammy, I'm not the biggest music guy. I like music and I will listen to, good music when people play it, but I'm not a big, I don't go and find good music and artists, but I will say if TikTok has done one good thing for me, it has turned me on to sea shanties. I will play those all the time because they are just absolutely phenomenal. Stan Rogers, who is like the Canadian, I guess you could say Bob Dylan, is one of my favorite artists from that specific genre. And I've been really vibing to a lot of what he's doing. The group here seems to not believe me in the power of sea shanties, but
I just think it's of course you don't listen to music. Of course. It just makes sense.
Is it a part of my personality to not listen to music?
I'm not even surprised anymore.
I will forever be uncultured. I apologize.
You're on a film podcast, man.
I'm on a film podcast. You think I'm going to listen to music?
They kind of go hand in hand. All right. But yeah, sea shanties from Charlie. I hope that satiates you, Samuel. Sorry.
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 10 out of 10, Charlie. It's
oh my God.
They're good. They're good. I have been listening to this indie rock band from Philly called Hop Along. They're one of my new favorites. I love everything they put out. They've got this real nice, just very clean indie rock vibes. The lead singer, Francis Quinlan, has the most unique and impressive voice I've ever heard. So I've been really vibing to Hop Along. If that sounds like stuff you'd like, I really like them. But all-time favorite band, tried and true, The Killers. The Killers will never.
Yes.
They will never do me wrong.
The Killers.
Charlie's trying so hard to blend in.
I love their bassist of The Killers.
The Killer Band.
The Killer Band.
They make songs really well.
They do. But yeah, so Hop Along, The Killers. Those are my recommendations for the month. Thanks, y'all, for coming to our first ever episode of Patron Q&A with Socratic Cinema. This is a lot of fun. Thank you, Samuel Copeland, for the question, and thank you for supporting the show. If you want to ask us a question to be answered live on air, consider becoming a patron at patreon.com/Socratic Cinema. Thank you. And let's get back to the Ma Rainey. How about that? All right? Cool. Thanks. I'll sell my. And it's sort of straight from the beginning. We're establishing that Levi feels abandoned by God, and so as a result of that is scornful of him.
Yeah.
And I just thought it was interesting that that's sort of set up from the very beginning.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
No, totally. I mean, that's like a major part of his not even arc, just who he is. Like, I think that's why he's so materialistic, because he's so individualistic. Like, he thinks that he has to make the miracles happen, and the way that he can perform miracles is by getting a lot of money and then showing off how much money he made.
Yeah.
And like saying, this is me, beating my circumstance. Look at my new shoes. These mean a lot to me because they're a symbol of my triumph. So then when Toledo at the end, after for however long they were in there, must have been like 5 hours or something, just trying to play this song. After however long, and Toledo, steps on his shoes, like, it's over at that point. Everything that Levy's worked towards is just down the drain.
And I like your use of the shoes as a symbol for Levy's triumph against his circumstance. And so in a way, Levy's shoes as a symbol for this like individualistic push. Toledo stepping on them is sort of reinforcing Toledo sort of shutting down Levy's individualistic ideas and being like, oh no, we all need to... Toledo telling Levy that black people need to stick together and shouldn't go do their own thing is sort of a ideological stepping on the shoe.
Yes,
Humbling.
that's very good.
Yeah.
Yeah, he really just humbles him.
Right.
He's not happy.
And Levy can't handle that because, the last time he tried to stick with a family unit, things did not go well.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Dang.
Right?
Shoe symbolism.
Shoe symbolism.
That's crazy.
Yeah, but I think, viewer, if you cannot tell, this movie is very obviously not about Ma Rainey. She is...
No.
I do want to talk about her.
Oh, absolutely.
I'm interested to see what, major stuff is with her, because I just see this as the Levy movie. Like Ma Rainey just feels like she's there, and she feels almost like an antagonist to Levy, because I guess, she would be the antagonist if we're considering Levy to be the protagonist. Like, they're directly at odds with one another. So
the antagonist to itself.
I know. I can't handle Levy as a protagonist. That guy, jeez.
Hey, Thanos is the protagonist of
protagonist.
Infinity War.
You're one of those guys.
Oh,
I
man.
guess.
Protagonists don't have to be good, James.
I know.
But, well, I think if we stick in the lane that Ma is Levy's like foil, I feel like Ma's the embodiment of how like, what did I put down? That black folks always have to fight to like prove their worth. Like that's like a common theme over the course of the movie. Like you see that with Levy, you see that with Sylvester too, where he's like, no, I can do this. Ma Rainey said I can, like that type of thing. Like she gives him that push, even though it is like literal nepotism.
Well, no, that was so sweet though. Like when she was saying, "Don't worry, baby, we'll take as many takes as you want. Just get it right. Take your time." Like that was really sweet to me. I think that's like one of the one redeeming moments that Ma Rainey had that made me be like, "Oh, I actually really like this character." But I wish there was more of those.
Yeah, she's loyal. Like she's true to her word.
She's true to her word. But I feel like that moment showed that there's a lot more to Ma Rainey's character that wasn't explored. Like I want to see that softer side of Ma. Or that more compassionate and encouraging side, because they just really leaned into her just railing on the manager or whoever it was.
I have a really stupid question, like a really, really stupid question.
Sure.
Yes.
Was Ma Rainey a real person?
She was a real person.
Oh, okay, because there were those pictures in the credits and I wasn't sure. So this is based on a true story then?
Yeah, well...
It's like a dramatized version?
Yeah, it's a dramatized version.
Okay, was there a bandmate that killed another or something? Or?
I'm not sure about the details
right,
of it,
but
there were definitely...
Ma Rainey
there was a
was.
Levy, there was a Cutler.
Okay, I see.
Like her band, yeah.
Oh, fun.
And I think the main thing... Like, I agree, Charlie, I feel like they could have made her a little softer, but I think, like, the actual Ma Rainey wasn't. And there's a very, like, specific reason for that and how they, like, portrayed... Ma Rainey, because if you see, like, she's always talking about her tour in the South and being as big as she is in like the South as a black woman. I think it's also like a line in the movie where it's like, if I went to one of these like white hotels, like they wouldn't care who I am, which we kind of see the contrast in that, where she's coming out of her presumably all black hotel and everyone's like looking at her, giving her all this attention. So essentially she's the queen of blues.
Yeah.
And everyone acknowledges that in the South, but
Actually,
in the North,
isn't it the mother of blues?
the mother of blues.
They made a point in that.
They
movie.
did make a very clear. Come on, Kasey.
I'm sorry. I'm slipping. But when she gets up to the North, like she has to function in a white power structure, which they say in the companion, which is a very good, like that's such like a brilliant way to show it, because that her white power structure is her manager and her agent. Like those are the white people that are controlling her. So her pushing back against them, because she has leverage. If she didn't have the leverage of having the record that they want and having something that they want, then they wouldn't let her treat them the way that she does. And we kind of like see that with their interactions, like discussing her. And we also see that when she is so hesitant to sign those papers, like she doesn't sign them until she's like halfway in the car, because she knows that like when she signs them, then her power's gone.
Right. It really is a tragedy. I mean, this whole play, I mean, it's a tragedy in the Shakespearean sense that, you know, people die, and Levy's definitely a tragic character, but Ma Rainey loses her power by signing the paper. I mean, it's the end of the play is sort of like the white people kind of win in a sense. I mean, and that last scene, gosh, is like
the jelly
the jelly roll. The very last scene of the film is sort of haunting. Like when I saw it and I got it, I was like, that was one of the parts in this film, I mean, that I kind of like understood, you know, and I was like, damn, that's wow.
That was a really powerful juxtaposition. I think that they did a great job with making it so sterile and corporate.
Just the way that it sounded so terrible. Like,
well, the life was all gone from it.
It was so rote and mechanical, which is not at all how jazz is supposed to be. Right. And you can just feel like all the soul has been sucked out of it. It was strong.
That was a good one. And even the room seemed like paler.
Why? Maybe it's just because everyone in it was white, but it was definitely like in post color corrected and lighted, like very sterile white, where the rest of the film is this like beautiful warm tones. The color, I think, is key in this movie for sure.
What city were they in?
Chicago.
Okay, then that makes sense for the color.
Chicago.
Well, and also the fact that the North is the place that's dominated by the whites, when, you know, traditionally we think of it as like the North. They were the great ones, right? They fought the Civil War.
Life's great
Everybody
up north.
didn't like
and it's like,
but then it's funny that they make a point about how Ma Rainey and her band have so much more influence in the South.
Like there's more black people.
Right. Yeah. Up north, they don't. Like this north, we usually think of as like the promised land is, you know, they're less powerful in the north than they were in the south, right? I just thought that was interesting.
No, definitely, because this is like peak Great Migration.
Right, totally.
Like,
my A-push did come back.
Yeah.
Yes, totally.
And it's just honestly, like you were saying, like really interesting how they highlight that, because you never really learn how kind of like opposed the North was. Like they're like, all right, slavery ain't good, but like black people aren't either, and they don't really talk about that at all, you know. And especially even the North's contribution to like the cotton trade, and, like all that stuff is very like skimmed over. It's like to make it easier to compartmentalize, like, all right, South bad, North good, let's just wrap it up and do it that way. But obviously, like through stories like these, we're like, it was bad all over the place.
Yeah, no, that sort of unfair treatment never left, and I think that Ma Rainey's does a great job at sharing that. My question is, it seems like the documentary adds a lot of value to this movie. It makes you understand a whole lot of what the film's trying to say. So do you guys think it is remotely, I don't know, a good idea to put so much meaning and understanding behind a companion piece? Like, this has been sort of a topic that has been something in lots of different forms of media. If anyone is familiar with the game Destiny and the whole way that they would put their grimoire behind a separate website, people were mad about that for years. This is sort of a similar thing. You're putting a lot of the emotion in a different place.
Yeah, and sometimes I think about that, especially I feel sort of weird as someone who has made, as people who have made a channel about reading into movies and stuff to understand them, quote unquote, it almost makes me think like, if you have to watch companion pieces and pore over it in discussions like we do, is it that good of a movie? Or are the better movies the ones that impart their messages just by watching it? And I don't know the answer, and I don't want to discredit Ma Rainey, because after this discussion, I feel like I understand it a lot better. And there's a lot of stuff I didn't get. But there's still sort of a part of me that thinks maybe like it's like explaining the joke. If you have to explain the joke, it loses its humor. And it's almost maybe these messages would have been more potent if I got it, the first time, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just curious about the conversion rate between people that watch that.
Yeah, I wonder how many people watch the documentary.
Because, I don't know, I personally side with, if you're telling a story, I think it's fine to tell it in different areas. And I think that having a documentary that increases your enjoyment of the first film is not a bad idea.
Yeah.
Like, if it's gonna make the movie better, there is no reason that you should not make it.
Sure.
Yeah.
So I don't think that it's a bad thing that Ma Rainey's did that, but I think that it's obviously more elegant if a film can combine the two into a single piece.
Right, if it can speak for itself.
But I think with something that requires so much historical context, like Ma Rainey's, it's a little difficult without coming off as boring. Like, that's one of my main complaints about Lincoln, is that it's just so slow and boring. And
sure.
it's a great movie, but it's just we're walking at a snail's pace here.
Totally.
And I think that Ma Rainey's had to keep the pace up a little bit. It had to keep that tension growing. And if, we had, the band arguing with one another, and then we cut to, well, so this is actually how, the North viewed black people. And
right,
it's like
it cheapens the actual impact in the moment.
So it's a really hard question for, I think, specifically this movie. I think I would have liked to see a little bit more context added in, but like only 5 minutes sprinkled throughout the entire, film within dialogue. So I think that the idea of having a companion documentary is not a bad thing.
Yeah, no, you make a good point. I agree. Sure. Yeah, I don't know. Guys, I'm really proud of us.
Right.
This was, I think, a really good I feel very much more educated. And I think I get Ma Rainey's now a little bit here.
We did it. Kasey did it. This was all.
This Kasey, you carried hard. I'm not gonna lie. Charlie and I came in here with empty hands.
I know, we were like, it talks about the black experience, I guess. Kasey's like, I have an itemized list.
Sheesh. But yeah, I think we are coming up on time here for a little bit, closing out the recordathon for 2020.
Wow.
Sheesh, guys.
As the sun sets in the background.
Sun sets, the California sun.
How emotional.
I know. Well, thank you everyone for listening. And this is probably not going to be the last part of Recordathon that we actually release. So I'll just treat this like a normal episode. So thank you so much for listening. If you enjoyed the podcast, be sure to comment on our YouTube channel. Let us know what you thought about Ma Rainey's Black Bottom. Do you think it's Oscar material? I mean, that's a discussion for another episode.
Yeah, very good discussion for another episode. Yeah. I have some strong opinions.
Anywho, go ahead and comment, like, subscribe, do all that good stuff. We're trying to push to 11K. We're almost there, and that'd be crazy to have 11K. I remember our goal for the year was 5K maybe, and the fact that we're at 10.9 is astounding. So thank you all so much.
Yes, thank you.
But also be sure to check out our Instagram at Socratic_Cinema. And click the link tree in our bio there to get access to all sorts of other social media, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, iHeartRadio, Twitter, Facebook, Twitch. You can throw us a couple bucks at our Patreon. You can become a patron on our Patreon. And get access to episodes early, have your name in the description. Once a month, you can get a vocal shout out on the episodes. Higher tiers will even earn you things like being able to vote on what movies we talk about. You determine the fate of Socratic Cinema. If you give us $1 million, we'll shut down the channel.
No, for real. If you give us $1 million, we will stop making content.
Yeah, sure, right? Why not? Anyways, thank you all so much for listening. And I'm tired, man. I'm ready to go home and hit the hay, because this has been 5 episodes of...
Let's watch 5 more movies tonight.
Oh, my gosh. This has been 5 long episodes of the Socratic Cinema podcast. Adios.